Urgent call to all souls. 40 days of divine manifestation begin now. Heavenly signs confirmed. Emily felt the static charge of anticipation filling the air as she stood in the bustling foyer of St. Jude's Church. Like thunder rolling through the mountains, a call had come, echoing in her heart and begging to be shared. They were in a storm, her family and her church community. Her husband Mark had lost his job. The kids were drifting away from faith as if swept by a tide of doubt. And yet here was this incredible, undeniable calling. As she gathered a few parishioners together, the atmosphere crackled. What if, she said, her voice rising like a crescendo, we devoted the next 40 days to fervent prayer? What if we called on St. Jude, the patron saint of lost causes? Eyes widened, hope mingling with skepticism. They could feel the weight of things growing heavy, as if the very foundation of their faith was being tested. And then the first miracle. Just days in, a beloved member, Mrs. Thompson, who had been suffering from a long-term illness, walked into the church, radiant and whole. I felt a warmth enveloping me during prayer, she said, tears streaming down her cheeks. The congregation gasped, whispers of praise God danced through the air. Could it be a tangible sign of hope amidst their turmoil? Emily felt her heart swell, a spark igniting other flickering flames around her. But as the excitement bubbled, so did another storm. Rumors spread through the town that the church might be forced to close its doors due to financial strains. Anxiety dug into Emily's heart like jagged glass. She wanted to scream, to shake the doubts out of her head, especially as her own family's needs loomed large. Could they keep a community together while holding their own lives in place? One evening, she found a quiet corner beneath the tall, stained glass windows, the dim light casting colorful shadows. She bowed her head, whispering to God, pouring out her fears. Please, Lord, give me clarity, she prayed, her voice barely above a whisper. Suddenly, floodlights of vision illuminated her mind. Snippets of memories rushed back of laughter, faith, shared meals, moments where they had leaned on each other. The strength of their community surged within her. As days passed, doubts crept in like fog, thick and suffocating. Tensions within the small prayer group escalated. Faith clashed with uncertainty. Every doubt felt like a crashing wave against their fragile boat. Would they truly make it through? Emily gathered them all one last time. Every storm has its purpose, she declared, grounding her words in love and urgency. We may be tested, but let us stand firm. This is our moment to rise. The light of determination reflected in their eyes. Yet the question lingered, were they ready for what lay ahead? Each prayer raised a silent storm within what miracles awaited, and would they be strong enough to embrace them? The winds of doubt howled outside, as the people of St. Jude stood together, hearts full yet trembling, desperate for the divine manifestation to come. In the days that followed, a palpable shift rippled through St. Jude's Church. Each moment of prayer became a thread, weaving the community tighter together. Emily led the gatherings with renewed fervor. Their voices lifted in unison filled the sanctuary, melding into a tapestry of faith. Let us ask St. Jude for guidance. She encouraged them, her spirit ignited by the miracle they had witnessed. The church was alive, every whisper of prayer punctuating the stillness like sparkles in the night. Emily observed the faces around her, joyful tears mingling with expressions of doubt. Each soul carried burdens, yet there was a flicker of hope ignited in shared desperation. Something divine was stirring among them. Meanwhile, whispers of sustenance began circulating in the community. Beneath the shadows of uncertainty, people began showing up with bags of groceries for those in need, offering help in ways they never had before. The young ones, who had drifted away, seemed drawn back like moths to a flame. They joined in prayer circles, their voices tentative but growing stronger with each passing day. Emily felt her heart swell as she witnessed the transformation. It was as if every act of kindness illuminated the darkness around them, casting out despair. Yet in quiet moments doubt still crept in. Was this revival a fleeting moment? Could it sustain the weight of their struggles? One afternoon, a community meeting was set to discuss the future of the church. The air was thick with tension, uncertainty hanging like a storm cloud. Emily felt led to share. "We've seen miracles happen," she began, her voice steady yet gentle. "Mrs. Thompson's healing was just the beginning. If we stand together, the Lord will provide." The room stirred with murmurs. Lively debates ignited, voices rising and falling like waves crashing on a shore. Everyone wrestled with their convictions. Some believed in hope. Others felt the sharp bite of despair grip their hearts. In that moment, Emily could see at the very essence of faith prickling through them like static. Then, a young woman stood up, her chin held high. "I found a job," she exclaimed, her voice a triumphant bell ringing through the room. Gasps rippled like a sudden breeze, bringing life back to the conversations. "I felt something change in me. Ever since we committed to prayer." Spurred on, more shared their testimonies. A man spoke of unexpected financial relief, another of rekindled family bonds. Hope filled them once more, even as dark clouds loomed outside the walls. Emily took a steady breath. She sensed the hand of God in their recognition of miracles, however small. "Let us organize a community fundraiser next Saturday," she proposed, fire blazing in her heart. "Every cent goes to keeping our doors open. We'll pull together for our church." The flutter of excitement spread through the room, like wildfire through a dry field. Participation surged as ideas sparked about food stalls, bake sales, and even a singing performance. The community united, a family bound by faith stepping into the light of possibility. Yet, as excitement swelled, so did Emily's silent worry. Could their hope withstand the test? As dusk settled, Emily stood before the crucifix, praying fervently. Would they indeed witness the divine manifestation they desperately sought? The days ahead promised miracles, but also trials. The winds of faith and doubt intertwined, the story only beginning to unfold what awaited them on the horizon. Would the community withstand the storms for what was to come? As the sun rose on the day of the fundraiser, a sense of palpable anticipation filled the air, energizing hearts within the walls of St. Jude's Church. Emily arrived early, the cool morning breeze brushing against her face, a welcoming caress that felt like a divine whisper. The church was still, yet every inch of it seemed to hum with potential. She glanced around, envisioning the vibrant flurry of activity that would soon fill the space. The first rays of sunlight filtered through the stained glass windows, casting color patterns on the worn wooden pews. Each hue seemed to awaken the sanctuary, inviting warmth and spirit. Emily paused, taking it all in, the silence before the storm of joyous noise. Volunteers began trickling in, their faces illuminated by excitement and purpose. They gathered to set up the stalls and arrange tables, laughter bubbling over as they reminisced about shared prayers and moments of healing. "Let us give it our all," cheered Fred, a familiar face in the crowd, his gray hair framing a beaming smile. The spirit of engagement was infectious. Laughter and camaraderie filled the room like an enthusiastic melody, instantly uplifting the mood. As the hours ticked closer to opening time, Emily took a moment to reflect. She felt an urge to gather everyone for a word of prayer, a common thread that had united them through trials. The chatter subsided, and the group formed a circle, their hands clasped tightly together. "Heavenly Father," she began, "we come together today, not just as individuals, but as a family bound by seeking your light. Let our efforts today be nourished by your grace." It felt as though heaven was leaning in close, mingling with their hopes and ambitions. When she finished, the group erupted in gentle applause, their spirits richer from having sought divine presence. As noon approached, the first visitors appeared, initially trickling in, then massing like a surge of warm light. Local families and friends entered with bright eyes, seeking communion, laughter, and the promise of support. Emily felt the emotional weight lift as more and more people arrived, each one adding to the expanding spirit of generosity and fellowship. Food stalls overflowed with tempting aromas. There were homemade pies, steaming soups, and vibrant salads. Music rang out as local musicians strummed uplifting tunes, inspiring smiles, and even the occasional dance among the festive crowd. Children dashed about, their giggles twinkling like starlight, while elderly parishioners swayed to the rhythm, forgetting their aches for moments of bliss. Yet, amidst this outpouring of joy, a thought flickered like a candle in the wind. Was this elation merely surface deep? Emily couldn't ignore the whisper of doubt that brushed against her heart. Would the community's revived spirit withstand the challenges lingering just beyond the horizon? As the sun hung high, casting golden rays across the gathering, a tall man approached the stage. Mic in hand, he introduced himself as a newcomer, his voice resonating with authenticity. "I may not know all of you yet," he began, capturing the audience's attention, "but I've heard whispers of miracles here." He took a deep breath, and Emily held her breath too. What would he say next? His eyes shined with a fervor that brought with it an unspoken promise. "I want to share a little about how faith can move mountains because I've felt it firsthand." As he spoke, air filled with expectancy, uncertainty, and a budding hope that perhaps, just perhaps, there was something mighty unfolding right before their eyes. Could their faith really lead them toward a monumental change? Could collective hope drum up an even greater miracle? With bated breath, the audience listened, their hearts attuned to the rhythm of divine possibilities. What revelation awaited them that would set forth even deeper awakening in their souls? As the day unfolded, they stood at the precipice of something transcendent. Would they dare to believe? The moment lingered like the final notes of a hymn. Hope hung in the air, shimmering brightly as they awaited the newcomer's message. Emily's heart raced. She sensed an invisible bond tightening around the congregation, threading them together in shared anticipation. "Faith," the man continued, "is not just a word, it's a living thing. It's what brought me to this church today." His voice rolled over the crowd, stirring feelings deeply buried within them. Each ear strained to capture his every word. "There was a time when I felt utterly lost, but it was in the darkest hour that I found light. I learned that faith is a journey, not a destination." A murmur flowed through the crowd, affirmations of agreement rippling like waves. They leaned in, wanting to be anchored by his story, craving that connection. Just a year ago, he shared, his tone shifting. "I was sitting alone in despair. I lost my job, my family felt distant, and hope seemed a far-off dream. It was during a community prayer gathering similar to this one that I truly felt something shift within me. I realized I wasn't alone. There were others who cared, who prayed, and who believed." Eyes sparkled with recognition as many recalled their own journeys. Jeremy, an older gentleman, wiped a tear from his cheek, while a young mother squeezed her child's hand tightly, fostering the spirit of resilience in her. "I was hesitant at first," he confessed, smiling nervously, "but little by little, through every prayer and every sermon, I felt my heart begin to heal. I found joy in service, and miracles didn't just touch me, they became my life. And here is the truth I discovered. Faith isn't only about getting, it's also about giving." A collective gasp filled the church. Could it really be that simple? The idea of giving, sharing, and loving was something they all craved and understood. His next words resonated like sacred bells. "If you'll open your hearts today, you might just find that the blessings you seek are already within you. Together, we can rise and create miracles in our community." The crowd erupted into applause, energized by this exhilarating proclamation. Emily felt the heat of connection swirl around her, igniting the belief in a collective spirit. She looked at Fred, who nodded knowingly, his own faith kindling a flame in her heart. Would they each embrace the spirit of giving? Encouragement rippled through the gathering. Conversations blossomed here and there, folks exchanging ideas about how they could support one another. Emily caught snippets about starting new groups, prayer circles, and outreach programs. The resonance of hope was real, expanding like a beloved hymn that one T be forgotten. Yet Emily couldn't shake the question, was this just the beginning? She felt a tug at her heart, urging her to delve deeper. What would they do with this newfound energy? Would they extend their faith beyond this event? As she glanced back at the speaker, she noticed him gazing into the crowd, his eyes glimmering with fervor. In the next 40 days, he proclaimed, raising his voice above the swelling applause, "We're going to embark on a journey of divine manifestation. Everyone here is invited to join to explore the miracles God has in store for us." Excitement electrified the air, but Emily sensed nerves too. Could they sustain this momentum? What would the next steps unveil? As the event flowed forward with joyful chaos, doubts simmered beneath the surface, waiting, watching. Should they commit their hearts to this bold endeavor? The congregation stood on a threshold of possibility, each soul teetering on the edge of something extraordinary in that moment. A quiet voice in her spirit whispered, "Will you choose to believe in the miracles waiting just beyond your doubts?" And that question lingered in the air as the day deepened, reminding her that God's mysteries often unfold when hearts yearn for connection and courage. What awaited them in the coming days would not just change the community, but transform each of them in unfathomable ways. Would they step into the unknown, trusting what lay ahead? The atmosphere shifted as the final words of the speaker hung like a cloud of anticipation. An almost electric energy filled the church, wrapping each person in a sense of urgency and longing. Emily felt it deep in her bones. This was more than a mere call. It echoed like a drumbeat of divine purpose, 40 days of promise. As the event began to close, conversations crackled like firewood in a hearth, the warmth of fellowship igniting laughter and shared plans. Emily clutched a flyer bearing the dates and activities for the upcoming journey. Her mind swirled with possibility. What if they really embraced this divine adventure? What if every prayer, every act of kindness led to a miracle? "Did you hear that?" Fred asked, pulling Emily from her contemplation. His eyes were lively, glimmering with excitement. "This could change everything. Can you feel it?" He waved the flyer animatedly. "We need to gather people, start meetings. This is it. What do we call our group?" Emily pondered aloud. A wave of inspiration washed over her. "What about the faithful journey?" "Perfect," Fred exclaimed, the idea taking root between them. "We can create a space for sharing, learning, and most importantly, serving." They both knew it would take more than enthusiasm. It would mean stepping boldly into the unknown, where doubts could sneak in like whispers in the night. But with each other's support, they felt emboldened. Each act of faith would compound and spill over into their community. Meanwhile, other members of the congregation were thrumming with excitement. A group of teenagers animatedly discussed starting weekly prayer sessions at the park, hoping to spread hope to others who wandered alone like lost sheep. Mothers shared ideas about meal trains for families in need, while seniors exchanged thoughts on collecting books for local schools. Each vision shared was a seed planted in the rich soil of faith, ready to bloom into something beautiful. As they made their plans, in the back of the church, two elderly friends leaned in close, concern creasing their faces. "What if we fail?" one asked quietly. "Or worse," the other replied, "what if we don't try?" Their words hung heavily in the air. Was fear anchoring them, or could it serve as a catalyst for stronger faith? Emily's heart ached. It resonated with the couple's struggles, but also filled with a yearning to encourage them. "Trust in the whispers that call us forward," she recalled the speaker's earlier words. "Each step can be an act of faith." With that, the days slipped into twilight. Laughter faded, replaced by the soft murmurs of farewells. Hope, once again, took center stage as Emily and Fred prepared to leave. The message from earlier echoed softly in her heart. Will you choose to believe in the miracles waiting just beyond your doubts? Days passed, and excitement met with apprehension as the start of the 40-day journey approached. Emails filled their inboxes, filled with confirmations and questions. Yet, one question remained perched at the edge of Emily's thoughts. How would they measure success? Would they look for specific signs, or trust that transformation happens in the unseen? As Emily sat on her bed that night, the moonlight streamed through her window, illuminating the flyer on her lap. It felt like a sacred invitation. She closed her eyes, breath mingling with prayer, seeking clarity. God, show me what you want me to see. What should we do first? A flutter stirred within her, an unexplainable sense of resolve. And that lingered just long enough for Emily to exhale softly, as she began to sense the first wavering outlines of divine guidance shaping in her heart. Little did she know, the first sign was already unfolding what awaited them in the embrace of the next dawn. Would they be prepared to witness the miraculous begin to manifest? The morning light crept through the curtains with gentle insistence, brushing against Emily's face like a soft whisper. Her eyes fluttered open, filled with a spark of purpose. It was the dawn of the journey, 40 days that held the promise of transformation. As she slipped out of bed, a sense of urgency filled the air, as if the universe was holding its breath, waiting for her first steps in faith. She eagerly gathered her materials, a notebook for ideas, scriptures for inspiration, and the now tattered flyer that had ignited this spark within her. It felt sacred, a bridge between what was known and the vast possibilities that lay ahead. With Fred by her side, they planned to gather their friends, neighbors, and anyone longing for a deeper connection with faith and each other. The church buzzed with life as the day unfolded. People milled around, greeting one another with hopeful smiles, the atmosphere weaving a tapestry of anticipation. Emily watched as families found unity in shared purpose. The air was filled with laughter and the aroma of freshly brewed coffee. It felt like a banquet of goodwill. She approached the appointed meeting space, her heart racing with excitement and a tinge of trepidation. Fred stood waiting, a beacon of enthusiasm. He clapped his hands, gathering everyone's attention. "Welcome, everyone. We stand on the threshold of something truly remarkable." His words sparked an electric cheer. Emily exchanged glances with members of the congregation, faces bright with hope, yet shadowed with uncertainty. "Let us share our hearts," she said, hoping to draw them in. "What does this journey mean to each of us?" As stories poured forth, hearts opened wide. Each person spoke of dreams, burdens, and what inspired them about this call. One mother expressed hope for her family's future, while a young man shared his desire to feel God's presence more tangibly. "I've struggled with doubt," an elderly gentleman admitted, his voice shaking slightly. "But maybe this is my chance to be free to believe again." Emily's heart soared as she felt the depth of their shared vulnerability. Each confession was a step toward healing, an openness that mirrored the spiritual journey they were on together. "Let us write down our hopes for these 40 days, Fred suggested, his eagerness contagious. "What do we seek from God? How can we be a light for others?" They passed out pieces of paper and pens, and a sacred silence enveloped the room as everyone penned their desires. Emily poured her heart onto the page, each word a prayer. "Lord, help us be vessels of your love. Open our eyes to the miracles around us." Suddenly, the sanctuary doors swung open, revealing a bouquet of nature's best offerings. Flowers from the community garden, representing life, growth, and God's handiwork. An unexpected warmth filled the room, as though the very presence of heaven was affirming their efforts. "Look," whispered a soft voice. It's like a sign their eyes sparkled as thoughts danced among them. Could this truly be their first sign? Emily felt the flutter in her heart return. The transformative journey they had embarked upon now blossomed with unforeseen beauty. As their meeting concluded, Emily shared the ultimate message. No matter how small it may seem, every ounce of faith counts while we nurture our intentions and keep our hearts open. Collective nods and murmurs of agreement filled the air, but deep within her, a nagging question remained. What more awaited them in the weaving of these 40 days? Would the divine hand continue to guide their path, revealing extraordinary moments beyond their imagination. And as they stepped out into the world that day, the anticipation of the unexplored whispered loudly, would they be ready to answer the call when miracles began to unfold? The days unfolded like petals of a blossoming flower. Each morning, Emily woke with renewed vigor, her spirit invigorated by the collective energy of the community. The air surrounding her felt charged, as though the very breath of the universe awaited their every step. They had gathered, not just as individuals, but as a tapestry of souls woven together by faith and hope. Daily meetings spilled over with emotion. Men and women poured out their hearts like water flowing from a spring, sharing stories that intertwined like ribbons. Each story a tale of struggle and bravery, of despair, turned to hope further fueled the fire of their shared mission. They were embarked on a pilgrimage of sorts, discovering together all that could arise in faith. One evening, as twilight danced on the horizon, Emily shared the vision that had been stirring in her heart. "Let us open our doors wider," she proposed. "Invite even more people. Let this space become a haven for those seeking God." Murmurs of approval filled the room, comforting and confirming. Each yes felt like a chord struck in unison, resonating with anticipation. Fred suggested they organize a community event, a gathering that bore witness to their journey. "Let us call it a night of miracles," he exclaimed, his eyes sparkling. "Invite the entire neighborhood. We'll share stories, laughter, and prayer. Let everyone taste the sweetness of God's light." The excitement of possibilities blossomed. They divided tasks, each member embracing their role with enthusiasm. Emily would coordinate the event, while others volunteered to bring food, music, and most importantly, prayers. Each detail, though simple, felt monumental. It was as if they were laying fresh stones on a path that led directly to heaven. As days turned into weeks, Emily remained mindful of the silent workings within her heart. She still revisited her written prayer each night, asking for the courage to hold faith amid uncertainty. One morning, she stood before her window, looking at the world outside, and felt an inkling of divine presence. The sunlight broke through the clouds in radiant rays, illuminating the garden below. She breathed in deeply, sensing and knowing a whisper that assured her everything was unfolding as it should. On the eve of the event, the sanctuary glowed warmly. Each table was adorned with flickering candles, illuminating faces filled with hope. Laughter echoed like music sweet and buoyant. And as they gathered, with hearts expectant, Emily felt a profound peace settle over them. It was in those smiles, those simple connections, that something truly divine began to manifest. "Let us open our hearts in prayer," Emily spoke softly, inviting the community to join hands a united front in faith. As she led them in sincere supplication, she felt their voices rise like a fragrant offering to the Lord. Each word wrapped around her, anchoring her spirit to the divine essence that surrounded them. The moment seemed to stretch like a bow drawn taut, ready to release something beautiful. Just then, in that sacred space, a gentle breeze swept through the open doors, rustling the leaves outside, carrying with it a hint of something more: joy, hope, and a promise of miracles yet unseen. But even as excitement settled around them, a soft whisper remained beneath the surface of Emily's consciousness. What awaited them in the night that was to unfold? Could this truly be a moment of divine manifestation? With hearts expectant, they turned to face the night sky, each soul ready to embrace whatever God had planned for them next. The night unfolded like a delicate tapestry, woven with threads of hope and expectation. Outside, the stars twinkled like scattered diamonds, bearing witness to the community gathered within. Emily could feel an electric charge in the air, a palpable energy, as if the universe itself held its breath in anticipation. As they held hands, united in prayer, Emily's heart raced with a blend of excitement and anxiety. She could sense the weight of their shared purpose, the very essence of what they hoped to accomplish that evening. "Lord, Fill this space with your presence, she whispered, her voice steady yet fervent. Let each person here experience your love and grace. When they opened their eyes, something had shifted. The candles flickered like tiny stars, and for a brief moment, Emily caught a glimpse of shimmering light dancing around the room. It felt like the veil separating the earthly realm from the divine had thinned, a reminder of the miracles that were promised in their gathering. Fred started the evening with a story steeped in vulnerability. His voice carried a melody of sincerity as he recounted a time when despair had clouded his heart, but faith had pulled him back from the edge. The room fell silent, every eye fixed on him. He spoke of unexpected blessings that had come swiftly, like rain after a long drought. God's timing is perfect, even when we can't see it, he emphasized, and the truth resonated deep within the congregation. As the stories flowed, a young woman named Sarah stood up, her eyes swimming with emotion. I've been struggling, she confessed, her voice quivering but courageous. I lost hope in my darkest moments, but hearing your stories, I feel something stirring in me. I know I'm not alone. The collective response was overwhelming. Vibrant murmurs of encouragement spread like wildflowers reaching for the sun. Emily felt a wave of warmth wash over her, knowing that vulnerability was igniting something sacred within their gathering. Suddenly, tears of joy streamed down Sarah's face as the group surrounded her in prayer, a tangible embrace of love and support. One by one, souls began sharing testimonies of struggles overcome, prayers answered, and blessings received. Each narrative interlinked, forming a stronger bond among them. They weave hope into despair, transforming fears into faith. Conversations flourished and laughter erupted, painting an atmosphere rich with divine connection. In the midst of these heartfelt exchanges, Emily sensed a whisper fluttering in her spirit. Something more is coming, it said, urging her to open her heart even wider. She glanced around at the faces glowing in the candlelight. Each one reflected stories of God's grace, the unseen, yet deeply felt presence surrounding them. Then came an elderly man, Jim, who had remained quiet until now. With a voice that quaked against the silence, he shared something unexpected. I've been considering this night for weeks. I decided to finally let go of my fears and surrender my past to God. But what I didn't expect, he paused, eyes twinkling with divine mischief, was to find my prayers answered tonight. He continued, revealing how he had placed a heavy burden on his heart, one he felt unwilling to bear any longer. As he spoke, the atmosphere shifted once again, thickening with an awareness that they were crossing a threshold, stepping into unknown possibilities. As he finished, a hush fell over the room, mixed with unspoken anticipation. What shall we do now? Somebody whispered. What next? The question hung there like a fragrant incense, inviting each heart to ponder. Emily stood there, protecting the moment like a sacred treasure, realizing that perhaps this night was a beginning. They hadn't just gathered as a community. They were a vessel ready for God's surprises. What if we sit in silence for a moment? She suggested gently. Let us listen. With heads bowed and hearts wide open, they waited, and within the stillness, a beautiful awareness settled upon them, hinting that heaven's chorus was just beginning to sing. Would the night reveal miracles beyond their wildest dreams? Each soul felt that something majestic was stirring in the air, preparing to break forth. The question lingered. What heavenly signs awaited them in the hours to come? In the hush that followed Emily's invitation, time seemed to stretch, suspended in a sacred moment. They drew in breath collectively, held together by an intensity that was both exhilarating and humbling. Each heartbeat echoed with an expectation that danced like wisps of smoke in the candlelight. Slowly, something began to unfold. Flickers of light moved around, more than just the candle's glow. It felt as if the very air vibrated with the pulse of unseen angels, whispering promises of hope and healing. Emily shivered slightly, not from fear, but from an overwhelming sense of warmth that wrapped around her like a comforting blanket. One by one, they began to feel it too, the gentle stir within their souls, awakening forgotten dreams, rekindling extinguished flickers of faith. Laughter mingled with tears as people shared snippets of their hearts, spilling over with stories that spoke of a divine hand at work. "Do you feel that?" Sarah asked, her eyes wide with wonder. "It's like a wave washing over us." "Yes," Fred replied, gripping her hands tightly. "It feels like we're being drawn into something far greater than ourselves." And in that realization, the atmosphere thickened further, a tangible manifestation of God's grace pouring into the room. Emily could sense it, the healing that was beginning to flow, the burdens that were starting to lift, as if layers of weight fell away. Struggles previously unspoken began to rise to the surface, and with them came the honest desires for transformation. Then Jim stood again, his stature no longer that of a trembling elder, but of a man who had found his footing anew. "We must not let this moment slip away," he urged. "This is our time to embrace not just what we've shared, but what we can give to God in return. Let us pray for boldness to act on these stirrings." The room erupted in affirmations, each individual raising their voices in agreement. The depth of conviction resonated deeply, offering assurance that this swelling tide of faith was not just for the hour, but a call to lasting action. "Let us commit to 40 days of prayer and reflection together," Emily suggested, feeling compelled to guide the group. "What if we dedicate ourselves to seeking His presence every single day? What might that unfold for each of us and collectively?" Immediately, an atmosphere of excitement erupted. Ideas flowed like rivers, plans were laid, and a feeling of divine movement charged the air anew. They spoke of gathering in smaller groups, weaving their commitments into gatherings for prayer, encouragement, and worship. A tapestry was being woven, each thread saturated with faith and devotion. As the plan solidified, a distinct sound filled the air, a delicate chord, connected to something beyond their space, pulling their hearts. Each member looked towards the center of the room, where the candles burned brighter, purging the shadows lingering in their spirits. It felt like a call to embark on a divine adventure, with promises no less than thrilling. Suddenly, Emily noticed the glances of wonder and anticipation exchanged among the congregation. Their faces glowed with a newfound purpose, a vow being forged within that very moment. It was more than a gathering now. It was becoming a movement, a powerful junction where hearts were intertwined for divine manifestation. Yet amid the excitement, a small voice within her hesitated. What should this journey truly look like? She pondered quietly. Would they uncover hidden treasures of faith or instead confront deep-rooted fears? The atmosphere remained charged as the last flickers of the evening danced around them, asking questions, beckoning them into the next chapter of their unfolding story. What awaited them in these next 40 days? Would they experience not only transformation, but also revelation? It felt like a doorway had been opened, a pathway leading into the divine unknown, and they were on the cusp of stepping through. The final days of their journey had arrived, and the evening sun cast a warm glow over St. Jude's Church. The air pulsed with potent anticipation, as if they were all gathering on the precipice of something wondrous. Emily gazed around the room, filled with familiar faces, their souls alight with shared purpose. They had grown together, woven into a tapestry of hope and healing, each thread pulling tighter with every prayer and testimony. The energy in the church felt different now, charged with an electricity that hinted at an approaching miracle. Tonight, Emily announced, her heart dancing in her chest, "We will share what we've gained throughout these 40 days. Let us not only reflect, but also act upon the strength we've found." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the congregation. She could see the transformations, families reunited, doubts surrendered, faith inspiring action. Fred stepped forward, enthusiasm glowing in his eyes. Let us have everyone share what God has laid on their hearts. What purpose does He have for us beyond this gathering? One by one, they shared. Jim recounted how he felt a weight lift off his shoulders, leading him to volunteer at a local shelter. Sarah spoke of renewed faith as she reached out to friends who had once slipped away, inviting them to join in this new life. Tears fell, smiles widened, and the room became a canvas splashed with courage and vulnerability. Emily felt an overwhelming swell of gratitude. In those moments, it was clear this was the miracle they had sought all along, not just the healing of individuals, but of the community itself. Then a soft, trembling voice cut through the ambience. It was Mrs. Thompson, radiant and strong after her miraculous healing. "You all have been a part of my revival," she began slowly. "But I feel called to give back. I want to create a support group for those struggling with illness, just as I once was." The room erupted in applause, the sound stirring the air like the chorus of angels mixed with heartfelt gratitude. As more voices chimed in, Emily felt her heart race. They were not mere individual journeys anymore. These were collective testimonies resonating like thunder. They scattered optimism and the promise of change across the community. "Let us form outreach teams," Fred shouted, reigniting excitement. "We can share our stories, bring food to the needy, help others discover faith." "Yes," echoed voices around the room, faces glowing. And then came the moment Emily had been waiting for, the pivotal turn. "However, we must be bold," she said, capturing the attention of all. "If we truly believe we are called to impact our community, we must step beyond these church walls. We need to act." Another murmur of agreement swelled, like waves lapping against the shore. "Let us plan an event to help those in need, something larger than us." She continued, building momentum. "A festival of hope. We'll bring together those struggling in our town and offer food, aid, and most importantly, a feeling of belonging." Gasps of surprise filled the room, quickly replaced by shouts of enthusiasm. They rallied, creative ideas bursting forth like fireworks. 2 weeks later, they would host a festival, one that would reach the very outskirts of their community and beyond. They envisioned games for the kids, food stalls, prayer corners, and live music sparking joy and connection that could heal the fractured lives around them. Yet, just as excitement bloomed, a thread of doubt crept into Emily's heart. Could they truly pull it off? Were they stretching their dreams too far? Fighting back the voice of fear, she closed her eyes. "Lord, give me the strength to lead these precious souls." Miraculous energy enveloped her as friends threw their arms around her, promising to lend their hands and hearts. With every affirmation, the doubts began to melt away like snow under the sun. They were in this together. The day of the festival dawned brightly, a vivid blue sky stretching over the horizon. The energy pulsed with life. Laughter echoed through the air like a sweet song of joy. Emily stood, just outside the church, observing the sea of people flowing in. Families laughed, tears turned to smiles, and the vibrant colors adorned the grounds, shimmering under the golden sun like a divine promise. As the day unfolded, she watched miracles transpire. "Look," Sarah called, pointing to 2 children who had never met before, now playing together, their joy infectious. Emily felt her heart swell. This was it. At that moment, she felt the beauty of transformation. People gathered not just for food, but also for connection, healing, and shared faith. As dusk fell, the sight of flickering candlelight surrounded them, creating a sacred cocoon of warmth. The last rays of sun painted the sky with hues of orange and purple, a sign that something monumental was taking place. Tonight marked not just an end, but a glorious beginning. They had stepped onto a path illuminated by faith, ready to confront challenges together, and they fully embraced the divine connection they had discovered. "Thank you, God," Emily whispered, her heart overflowing. "Your presence has transformed us." As the festival buzzed with life, they joined hands under the tapestry of stars, united in faith. "You have made us vessels of your love," they proclaimed, waves of gratitude washing over them. "Now, Emily declared, "Eyes full of purpose, let us take this light beyond these walls, forever lighting the path for others." And as they released their prayers into the night, the community continued to glow vibrantly, a beacon of hope shining forever brighter. Now is your turn. You need to subscribe now to this channel. Don't miss a single moment of exclusive faith stories that can uplift and inspire. Leave a like now. Your support fuels the algorithm and helps spread these divine messages even further. Comment below to share your reactions and testimonies about this powerful conclusion. Your words can be the light someone else needs. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation of hope and transformation. True servants of God understand the importance of spreading this divine love, and you could be a part of that mission.